Nobody's listening, right?
Hi, Andy.
Hi.
Is any... Oh. Yes, is anybody listening?
Yeah, and you want to know what's so fun?
What's fun?
We're up to 20 countries now. Remember it was 18?
Yes!
Yeah, so that's cool.
I do want to get a map.
And I can see that. I really like this new review thing I'm looking at. Okay, you want to hear some, if anyone's listening?
Yes.
Never related more. This is from Drew. Never related to anyone on a podcast more than Elizabeth feeling insecure about seeing other mothers on social media. Huh. We all compare ourselves to these unrealistic versions of motherhood sometimes. The closest I come to the ballerina is we have the same dog. Oh, that's a beautiful fucking dog.
Wow.
Remember?
Wow, Drew. Is it Drew?
It is Drew.
Oh, you've got the golden ticket for dogs.
I'm like jealous of Drew with the dog because I was admiring the dog.
Yeah. Listen, the grass is always greener, I guess.
It's always greener.
Until it's your own grass and you're looking around and you're like, this is some green grass.
That's nice. Self-care. This is from Dari Fari. I use Spotify to listen to my podcast, but I tracked down iTunes just so I could leave a review and beat Eckhart Tolle's.
Thank you.
And also tell everyone how absolutely joy-filled this podcast is. I'm a mental health provider and constantly on the verge of burnout, but listening to these two talk every week gives me a new jolt of energy. Great for self-care, and their laughter is just contagious. Love this podcast so much and never want it to end.
Oh, that is so sweet. Great news. I don't think it's going to end until one of us does.
Here's another one of these. This is from Emily from Australia. I had to download Apple Podcasts solely for this review. Okay. Now, that is taking a step.
That is next level, and I so appreciate that. That's extra work.
I love this podcast so much. You guys are a damn delight. I'm so happy you returned so I can cackle along with you like the old days. Aww. Do you think, I wonder if people, these are public, I wonder if we just, I'm going to stop thinking out loud. I'll think out loud in private to you later.
I have a few things to say. Thank you for those reviews. Thank you to everyone who's leaving us reviews. Thank you everyone who's telling their friends. Maybe over Thanksgiving, a few people told people about our podcast. Oh. Maybe we'll get a few more listens this week. Oh. I actually do have a numeric goal for our podcast that I want to get it to in 2023. And I'm not going to say what it is, but...
Isn't it to beat Eckhart Tolle?
Well,
that needs to be one of them.
In the reviews, yes, but I'm talking about like weekly downloads.
Oh.
And we're on our way. And I really think it's going to be word of mouth. Of course, St. Monica giving us an occasional shout out is working wonders.
Shout out. And
I'm hopeful and feeling positive about it. I have a few other updates.
Oh.
On that note, it really helps to have financial support. We do this all ourselves. It takes a lot of time, especially for Andy to make the video clips. And so if anyone's the truth, if anyone's out there wondering if they can support us somehow, $4 to $6 a month. If you're feeling generous, you can go even higher on patreon.com/totallylame. That's LAIME. And we are going to be doing our live streams occasionally. For these listeners, it has our 1,300 episode back catalog. And like this week, Andy's going to post the last a clip of the last 20-ish minutes from last week's episode where we were laughing our asses off about, I don't know what. But
I mean, honestly, if we're being honest, I think it's a clip I don't want to post that much, but you said that you've gotten some of the biggest response you have from our show.
Yes.
And it's because I'm completely embarrassed of some of my actions.
Well, I think it's only fair because you posted a clip you said you weren't going to post that was embarrassing for me.
But it was a teaser. It didn't really get into the juicy bits.
Sure. But anyway,
but
it's all going to be there.
This is for the patrons.
You know what I noticed in that episode, last week's episode? there's a point where I'm saying, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. And you keep talking about it.
Yeah.
And then there's a point where you say, I don't want to talk about it. And I keep talking about it. I think the truth is we know when our boundaries are very real and could sense that.
Oh, we would probably. Yeah.
The nice thing about the podcast also is we can edit out something afterwards if we're like, hey, listen, I actually don't want that there. So anyway, for anyone who's concerned that we.
Yeah.
But the other thing I wanted to share is that I got an update from our listener in Switzerland who shares my fantasies. And lo and behold, she does have a Griswold family. I'm just kidding. She doesn't.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
No, the thing that she shares in common with me, which I did appreciate her clarifying and actually is kind of weirdly is meaningful, is that her fantasies often are frequented by people she would not be sexually attracted to in real life.
Yes.
There's kind of an old guy, like people. So that's nice.
What if you? I wanted to talk about my memory in a second too, because now I'm having a hard time remembering. We were watching something and there was a character, and I was like, "This guy's definitely showing up in your fantasies." And you're like,
it was
no, he isn't.
Love is Blind. It was the dad. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there was an Israeli dad.
Yeah.
Who was like very
He's
intense.
Very attractive.
He was too attractive for you. Is that it?
I don't know. It's not even about that. It's really.
But he wielded this power, which I
Yeah,
thought would be a
but it
turn
was-
on for you.
No, it's too on the nose. Like,
Okay. I said it last week. I'm just
Don't worry
trying
about
to
it.
figure out. No, I am worried about it. I'm trying to figure out how to harness it for my own.
I don't think you can. You're too cute.
Ugh,
I mean, handsome.
that's better. Sort of.
You are. You're so handsome.
You're so handsome. You're saying that like you would say that to like one of your children.
Oh,
On
no.
school
well,
picture
I
day.
mean, we're okay. How am I supposed to say it in this context?
I would be more like, you're so fucking handsome. Like that. Like with more of an intensity.
Okay,
Try it. Just do it once.
You're so fucking handsome.
Okay. That's B+, thanks.
Okay. What else? What other updates? I feel like that was most of the admin I had. I hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving. We had a very wonderful, quiet, chill Thanksgiving. Normally we're with my sister's family, which I will say I really did miss this year.
Yeah.
They traveled for Thanksgiving and we couldn't take off the time for work and stuff. But there was something very nice about not going anywhere. I ordered, shout out Heirloom LA, that I ordered our entire Thanksgiving meal from. So we literally just reheated everything. A completely different texture to Thanksgiving than if I were having to cook everything. I think things, this is why I was talking about with Ballerina Farms. When I'm feeling like under duress, I know that I bring this vibe to our small home that is everyone feels.
Oh, yeah.
And
it takes over the whole house.
Does it?
I thought I was just affirming what you were saying.
I know, but you're saying it with a smile, and it's. Does it? I'm actually becoming a little bit paranoid. Am I horrible? No.
No, I think I was poking your buttons a little bit by affirming you because it just seemed like a funny opportunity to affirm, right?
Yeah. I get the joke, Andy, but what I'm saying is I'm a little sensitive to it.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. But no, I think both of us can do that. I think this happens in lots of families. When one person gets in a bad mood, it can bring down the vibe of the house sometimes, and we're both guilty of that sometimes. And that's what you're saying.
What I'm scared of, I guess, is, and I would say not always, but I think that, my dad wasn't around a ton growing up, especially like when I got into high school, because he commuted. He didn't even live But sometimes if he was in a bad mood, and maybe it was heightened because he wasn't around enough, I mean, all of us were walking on it. I felt
Yeah.
like it took over, and I do not want my kids to live in a home where they feel that way. And what I'm asking you is, it's not like that a lot of the time, is it? No, okay. Okay, so anyway, where was I? Thanksgiving was great. No, we did have a lovely, chill Thanksgiving.
No stress. Easy peasy.
And can I tell you what one of my favorite moments of all of Thanksgiving was?
Yeah.
Which was so funny. Okay, and this was in tandem with the night before Thanksgiving. Somehow the topic of alcohol came up.
Oh, yeah.
Because Teddy was like, I was having a glass of wine, and Teddy was like, doesn't wine have caffeine in it? And I said, no, that's coffee. Let me give you the bookends of mommy's beverage experience. Mommy needs coffee to wake up in the morning. And then alcohol is something that makes you feel like it can make you feel calm, but if you drink too much of it, it can make you feel a little loopy.
Yeah.
And Otis was saying, what's loopy? And I started to have the conversation with them about alcoholism without saying that word, but just that alcohol is something that kids can't have, and even adults, some adults should not drink alcohol. It depends on how it makes you feel, and it also depends on some adults can't stop drinking alcohol.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, they just shouldn't drink it at all.
Yeah.
Because if you drink too much of it, it can make you, you know, really loopy, not yourself. It can make you be mean. It can make you do things that you don't want to do. So like the starts of that conversation happened. And then yesterday, our daughter wanted us to have a tea party.
Oh, yeah.
And so the four of us got into her room, and she had all of her stuffed animals set up. It was very cute. We had a little tea party. But there's one very special stuffed animal in our lives named Bearsy
Yeah.
that you do a voice for and have attributed a personality to him that is so delightful. Like, to
He
the
really
degree,
feels like another member of the family to me.
he really does, right? And he's very nuanced. Like, I'm like, maybe we should write a movie for Bearsy, or I mean, Bearsy has a lot of layers. He's a little bit obsessed with me. Like, maybe in love with me romantically. There's like kind of a romantic element that the kids are not aware of, but he looks at me and he calls me Angel Elizabeth. And he's very sensitive. He gets hurt feelings a lot. Like, if we go to the cabin and don't bring Bearsy, we come back and he's very upset. He's obsessed with honey.
Honey, loves honey.
Loves honey. And so he was at the tea party, and someone gave him something I didn't even know about.
Yeah, I feel like you didn't know. We got hot honey once for real in
Like
real life.
spicy, chili, spiced honey.
Yeah. And then it became this joke that he loves honey so much, but when he gets hot honey, he goes bonkers and becomes kind of a rageful asshole. In his Bearsy way.
And he is an addict. He's like, give me the hot honey. I have to have the hot
of it.
honey. And he kind of goes crazy. And then it was funny because it was, without saying it, I was like, oh my God, you were showing the kids what being with an addict is like during this tea party. Because Bearsy, I want you to do the voice.
No, because there's going to be too many people. It's kind of a combination between Fozzie the Bear's voice and there's another voice. Okay, but I mean, maybe I can, but
he was like,
I don't have the bear here though. It's like I need the bear.
go get the bear. This is worth pausing for.
Okay.
Or do you want to keep this private?
It feels a little weird breaking it out to the public. Like, I just don't know if I'm ready yet. Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway, he wanted the hot honey. When he got the hot honey, that Otis especially, I'm like, Otis is a pusher. Otis wanted Bearsy to have the hot honey because he loves to see other people like losing their minds. And Bearsy started losing his mind. And then Bearsy came up, and I was like, Bearsy, let me hold you And when Andy does the voice for this bear, it does feel very real, and the bear is very expressive. It's very strange and hard to explain. But I was like, let me hold you and calm you down. And then he said to me, Bearsy looked at me and said, do you have hot honey? I'm going to do my impression of the voice. And I said, no. And he said, what?
I don't remember.
I wish I remembered it exactly because it was so scathing. But it was like, then you're worthless to me.
Yeah, he goes pretty hard. But I think the children understand the nuance of it.
So anyway, but it was very funny to me that you were truly showing them what addiction does to a...
And then he said to wake him up when it got fun in here again.
He said, I'm going to take a nap. Wake me up when it's fun again. I do want to write a movie about Bearsy where
maybe we can put up like a
struggles
clip of
with
him or
addiction.
something talking.
Yeah.
Maybe we can do that.
But that was my favorite part of the whole night, that we were having this sweet little tea party, and then an addict came through.
I mean, it's almost like you're like the drunk uncle at the Thanksgiving almost, sort of.
Yes.
But a very lovable drunk uncle.
Sure. Did you have a drunk uncle?
No, not really. I'm trying to think on like one side of my family, I guess they kind of booze pretty hard, but like not in a belligerent way at all. And I guess in some ways in a very kind of good drunks on that side of the family. And then the other side of the family, not much booze.
Mm.
Yeah. Did you?
Could take some booze, honestly.
Did you have a drunk uncle? Do you have any stereotypical drunk relatives you know that were like kind of...
No. I mean, not really. But, alcoholism does run in both our families.
Yeah.
So, good thing to expose our kids to in a safe way, I guess.
Make it seem hilarious.
And then... And then we did our, what we're grateful for is at dinner. And our son, who is 6 years old,
Oh, my God.
brought us both to tears, I would say. I mean, he started us off, and, he is full of surprises. Like, the other one is the one I usually would expect to come with the poetic verbal love notes.
Mm-hmm.
But he said the most beautiful, eloquent, loving things to both of us, and how, unprompted, how we affect his life.
Yeah.
And I was bowled over. That was so cool.
Yeah. It was so sweet.
And then Teddy followed it up also in kind.
Yeah.
And I just was like, oh my God. And, Teddy started saying what she's grateful for about Otis. And he was like, I'm going to faint. This is so loving.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we have such sweet kids.
They're very sweet.
Anyway, great Thanksgiving.
It was good. Easy
Easy.
peasy. I can see how yeah, anyways.
What?
I was just going to say it was a nice little splurge for us to not have to cook. But I can see how I think some people love to make the whole feast.
Some people do, yes.
But I think for a lot of people, even that love it, it does become very stressful because it's a big meal.
It is stressful. And I
loaded.
want to shout out my sister, Anna Marie, who bears the brunt of that every year. I mean, that's why I was like, I'm not even going to try, because we're very fortunate. Like, she kind of hosts this thing every year. We don't have to do very much normally.
Yeah,
and
we
so,
bring like a side, right?
Yeah, we bring a side. We're so pathetic. But I do feel, here's the other thing, and I love, Anna Marie's an amazing cook. I love Thanksgiving dinner, but I'm not going to make a great Thanksgiving dinner. So,
Yeah.
and it's expensive regardless. I mean, it's an expensive thing to cook.
Yeah.
And it's an even more expensive thing to buy. But to me, the difference was...
You know what I also like, which we haven't done since COVID, which we did a lot as a family growing up. We would go... Oh, man. I think it was this little town called Innsbruck.
Mm-hmm.
You remember that town?
Yeah.
Was that Missouri or like Indiana or something like that? Around, maybe
Yeah.
not even Missouri. Anyways, when we lived in St. Louis, we would go there for Thanksgiving with some family friends And it was just talk about easy. You go to the Thanksgiving dinner at like where we would stay at some cool little inn or something.
Oh, that's fun.
But I remember even as a kid that being so much fun. And then like the next day you went in the little town and you're walking around and whatnot. And we kind of did that a few years ago in
Ojai.
Ojai.
That
Like,
was fun too.
That was really fun. So I feel like I hope there's a little more of that in the future too, because there's something magical about that. I have very fond memories of the Thanksgiving out and about,
Yeah, that is fun.
if you will. And that's easy.
Yeah.
Listen to us.
Okay, should we talk about your memory?
Oh, yeah. I just, I think my memory was one of the bigger factors of me exploring whole ADHD stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned a lot about that and like executive functioning and whatnot. But it is interesting. It's just like a sieve. My brother texted me, podcast came out, and he texted me something that seemed to be alluding to, I guessed, a podcast. And I was like, is this from one of our podcasts? And he's like, yeah. And it was from T-Bash, which dropped the same day. I think T-Bash and this dropped the same day because of Thanksgiving. We put it out a day earlier. But I had recorded that episode 2 days earlier, but I literally could not remember what he was referencing and if it was from our podcast or T-Bash. Like, it's just like, I don't have I don't know. And it was something, I had talked about 2 days earlier.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I'm not that worried about it.
I will say, I had this thought yesterday. I multiple times went into the kitchen yesterday and was like, what am I here to get? Like, not to discount your experience, but I almost feel like those types of things or these memory blips are heightened to you because you're slightly off. Like, your memory is not great.
Yeah.
But like, it happens to
everybody for sure.
Yeah.
It just seems to happen all the time. And that stuff, I don't know. It's weird. Learning about the ADHD, I've implemented. I have like a to-do list system now that has been so helpful that the second I think of something,
I have to say,
I put it on my list.
I have noticed it. So here's a perfect example.
Yeah.
One of my all-time favorite prized possessions that I have.
Yeah.
Which, like, we've played the game. What would you want to save in the fire or whatever? This is up there on the list. Is this lamp of my grandmother's that's on my bedside table. It's like a milk glass lampshade with leaves painted on it. I mean, it's not valuable or anything. It's this brass, old-timey looking lamp.
Yeah.
But I love this lamp. It has so many memories attached to it. And I broke the lampshade. I was cleaning before, I was like dusting the blinds before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And I got out the dustbuster and I knocked it over and it broke the lampshade. And I was really sad. And the kids knew. I was like, Teddy.
Oh, do you know one of them came out here?
Really?
Yeah, I was working in the studio and they're like, hey, you need to come inside. And I was like, what?
Aww.
Yeah, it's for real. And they're like, Mom broke the lampshade. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, and you knew exactly what it meant.
Yeah, I totally did.
And Teddy was like, maybe it's a beautiful oops. Like, maybe I'm like, well, okay. But yes, very sweet. I wasn't like, by the way, I didn't want to paint a picture like I was wailing or anything. I just quietly was like, oh no.
But you could have been.
But I could have been crying.
Yeah, that would have been fine.
So anyway, that lampshade, it did crack in a place that has cracked before, or it broke. I mean, it's now in 2 pieces, but it is only in 2 pieces. It's not in 70. So we're going to try to glue it together.
Yeah.
And normally, I feel like this would be the sort of thing that I would put aside. And I told you, I was like, do you think you could fix this?
And did I fix it the time before? Or did you take it somewhere?
I fixed it, I think. Or maybe you fix it.
Okay.
Anyway, you were like, oh, yeah, we need that special glass glue or whatever. I, in my mind, was like, right, this is going to be a 6-month-long thing.
Yeah.
And I'm going
As
to
it
have to
typically would be, yeah.
yeah, following up and like, did you get the glue? I put the glue on my Amazon list. Like, I'm like, but we need to
Oh.
figure out what glue it is. And I'm going to have to, like, me taking on kind of, even though you're doing it, the responsibility of making sure that you do it.
Yeah.
And to my shock and delight, a day later, you were like, oh, I ordered that glue, by the way.
Yeah.
And I was truly floored.
It sounds so ridiculous you saying this, but I understand you. You really were floored that I got the glue
Yeah.
that quick,
Yes.
which is pretty, I don't know. It's hard to hear and also great to hear. I must feel emotional about it, but
Yeah.
it is such a thing that you, before these days, you knew going into this, like, he'll do this maybe in 3 months or
Yes.
6 months. Like
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
This is going to be a whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I have noticed a difference. That's just one example, but like kind of across the board.
Yeah, yeah.
I mentioned the cat litter box the other day, expecting you to be like, oh, yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
You had just done it. Like, there are these things that I feel like
Yeah, yeah.
normally I'm feeling like I can take them off of my, like, management to-do list.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Which is really reassuring.
Well, this was the thing. You had a mental, okay, you would give me a task, right? But you would never really give me the task because you knew me putting it on my mental list was not reliable at all.
Right.
So you had to keep it on your mental list.
Yes.
And then you would have to remind me
Yes.
a bunch.
And it's almost like by the way, I mean, every once in a while that would be really annoying. The only time it became really annoying is when I would follow up asking you something and you would get annoyed with me following up. I would be a little bit resentful.
Yeah.
But typically that's just the way we operate. And by the way, I mean, I cannot reiterate enough how 50-50 partnership you are. Like, what you are doing to run this home this is not the case of the like detached father where the mom I don't fall into that category of woman. But so this was something that's just part of our dynamic that I was used to. I didn't resent or whatever. But now to feel like it's like it's something I was doing without even realizing it. And now to not need to have that list running
Yeah.
is such a delight.
I wouldn't abandon it altogether yet. I had even thought of taking this a step further. So the system I've been using...
Yeah, what is the system?
I'm just using an app called Tick Tick, which is just like a reminder app that you get, on your iPhone or whatever. But you can also pull it up on your computer and other spots. But I just have it set up in a way that on my phone, I've made it so easy to add something to the list.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I don't have my phone, I can just talk into my Apple Watch, add this to the list. So the second there's something to do, my biggest problem is I forget it so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So now if you ask me to do something or if I have a thought to do something, I literally just push a button on my watch and talk it into the watch or pick up my phone. And then it's just at least there on the list.
Right.
And then I also set up my phone so I'm seeing just on my wallpaper the top of that list.
Right.
So anytime I'm looking at the phone, I see it. And then it's become a thing that it feels good to finish the list every day.
Yeah.
So it helps like
that's nice.
motivate. But the main thing is just instantly putting the thing on the list. Then I don't
forget
it. Because I was always forgetting it. And then you would have to have the mental thing.
Right.
I was thinking of almost taking it a step further, and this I feel like might open up a can of worms, but there's a way that you could just add things to that list. So they would like pop up on my phone, but then I'm like that, you might wield that power too much. But that's how game-changing it's been for me just to
get it all down right
just
away.
Get it down and then not be worried about what did I forget to do.
Did you? Oh, I see those right there. The receipts.
Yes. So perfect example.
That's a perfect example.
Now,
Let me give context to this,
please.
because I don't know where we are with this, actually. I don't know what state it's in.
Yeah.
Andy, well, this was another perfect example, is I bought some counter stools for the cabin that need to go up there, and they came here in boxes, and it was like, you're going to put those in your car. Normally, I would need to ask you a couple of times.
I put it on my list as soon as you asked me to do it.
You did it, and then I came in assuming it hadn't been done.
And asked me to do it.
I asked you to do it, and you had already done it.
Yeah.
Now, while you were cleaning out your car, you found about 4 or 5 receipts from our contractor up at the cabin, the way he gives them to us. And they were crumpled in a way that I found impressive. It looked like you had crumpled them up into a ball.
Yeah.
And, I have a file on these, and we also have a Excel spreadsheet that I enter all of this information in to keep track of the finances of the cabin. So I have a physical file I put them into, and I have the Excel spreadsheet file. So anytime I get a receipt from our contractor, I insert those things and I put them in the file, and they're done.
Yep.
Now, even just the fact that Andy had balled them up into trash balls, comical trash balls, was already like, oh, this is annoying because it's not giving care to my system.
Yeah.
That I'm putting them in a file. Like, these matter.
Yeah.
And truly, to not have one of them, like, there are 4 or 5 of these. This is where my head went. Now, I already started worrying about this.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, then they were on the counter, and it was a day that I was cleaning and getting everything ready for Thanksgiving. And I said to you, have you put these into the spreadsheet yet? And you immediately said, no, I'll do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, great. The moment you took them out of the kitchen, I was like, oh no, that's not going to get done.
Mm-hmm.
Those were just balled up in his car for God knows how long. Now they're going to be balled up somewhere else. Also, to not have 4 or 5 of those receipts basically undoes all of the work that on the spreadsheet for the last year and a half. Like, to not have 5 big receipts from, this is what I'm thinking. And I'm thinking, it's never going to happen. And now here I am looking at them.
Yeah.
What's the status?
Now, here's the thing. I had put them on my desk, as in, like, look, hey, these are on your desk. You need to take care of this next time you sit down. But then we had to record the podcast, and they would have looked messy to be on the desk. So I folded them and put them right there. But I was like, oh, I'll put them next to my mouse because then I'll see them. I do not know if I put them on the list. And if I didn't put it on the list, this is a great learning.
It's a loophole.
Well, this is bad.
Yeah.
This
they're off
this
the list and they're out
like,
of sight.
Yeah. And a problem with my memory, I don't remember if I did. So I almost feel like I should just put them on the list right now. That way I'll just do it on Monday. So I can just say, add reminder, put receipts onto spreadsheet on Monday. And I'm done.
Wow.
I'm done. Yep.
Okay.
And I'll just show up. And now I'll remember to do it. But great thing. It'll be interesting for me to look later to see if I'd put it on my list of to-dos.
Mm-hmm.
But if I didn't, this is the classic thing where they were hiding in my car. Then I found them when I cleaned out my car. They were all crumpled up. Then I was like, shit, I got to take care of it. So I put them in a place where it's like, oh, you'll take care of it if you see them there. But then, of course, I had to move them for something else. Then they would be sitting there in that little pile,
For how long?
hiding for 3, 4, 5 months.
Andy, can I ask you something?
Yeah.
This is no judgment. I'm really excited about this. This has changed our lives. I mean, by the way, thank you to our listeners. I feel like the whole ADHD journey was thanks to our listeners and
Yeah, that's very true.
has changed our lives for the better.
Mm-hmm.
How did they get so crumpled? Like, Jim gave them to you flat.
Yeah. They got, so you know the console in between the 2 front seats of a car?
Yeah.
Okay, so like I'd put one in there, then I'd put more in there. Then there was like a roll of toilet paper that at some point in time, I think someone was coming in the car to sit shotgun, and it was just on the front of the see, it just looked not good.
Sure.
So I jammed that into the console.
What?
There was just too much in the console. So
What is
everything
a roll
got
of toilet paper doing?
it's just like for tissue for
Oh.
like the kids and whatnot. Like I
Okay.
think that's how it started. I always keep a roll of toilet paper in the back of the car.
Do you?
Yeah, because you never know. I keep a roll of paper towels and a roll of toilet paper in the back of the car.
Wow.
I mean, you should do that in your car.
Okay.
Think about it.
Okay.
If there was ever a time that you actually needed it, boy, would you be happy it's there. And it's great for blowing your nose and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
But that roll from the back of the car had migrated to the front of the car. And then at some point I had to hide it in the console. And it's kind of a small console. So jamming that in there. Plus, you know, there's hand sanitizer in there. There's a thing to break your windshield that no one would ever remember to use if they were in a car accident that we have in our car.
Or you can cut
The glass or
the
something.
seatbelt.
I'm glad we had this conversation,
Yeah.
in case that's relevant.
It's mostly for that one scenario where you've driven into a lake.
Jesus.
You need a seatbelt cut and glass smash.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. What else is on your list?
I don't have anything on my list, but you know, I was thinking about yesterday a couple things. We were watching the Macy's Day Parade, which that's the first time I've ever watched that parade and had been so joyful with the kids. They liked it. And I was like, oh, this is fun. There's music and then all the floats and it's all these things that the kids recognize. It's like, there's Pikachu from
SpongeBob
Pokemon. There's
and-
SpongeBob and whatnot. And I was thinking about one thing on Twitter. I kept seeing it was like happy 20th anniversary of Barney exploding. So there was like 25 years ago, there's a big mishap with the Barney float. The windy day. There had been many windy days at the Macy's Day Parade, right? There's a lot of, like, when you're signing up to be one of those carrying the big blimp things, that's like,
Wasn't
you
there
probably have to sign a waiver.
isn't there on a Christmas movie a funny scene
Probably.
about like the float and the balls and
Probably.
I feel like there's something funny.
But what I was thinking about is two kind of things. Is like it is so interesting if you zoom out on that and you look at this, like we have these huge balloons of these weird looking things. Like if you were an alien, would you be like, is that who they worship? And then to take it a step further, I had thought about this the other day. Of just like what would be impressive to aliens. And it's kind of sad what I came to would be one of the more impressive things. What do you think one of the more impressive things would be to aliens? And I mean like, not that like, you know, we can communicate with each other, like things, structures, blimp, like what would it be?
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
Huge Pikachu balloon. Yeah.
Does it have to be man-made?
I think, oh, that's interesting.
Because I do think aliens, like, coming down, I would think would be impressed by a lot of Earth's beautiful nature.
Oh, yeah, no. I think what would impress them the most about us,
About us.
that like these, what are they? Wow, they've got this.
Like speedboats?
Wow. Let me just say this. You are so much more in the ballpark on your first guess than I could have imagined you being. So I'm really
Well, on the
impressed.
ballpark of what you've come to.
Oh yeah. But
not like the ballpark of
what
reality.
they would be. Okay.
How long did you spend thinking? By the way, I love that you just were thinking about this randomly, and for how long?
I don't know. Okay, you want to hear what it is?
What you've decided?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like the huge, like Carnival cruise ships.
Oh.
I feel like we saw a picture of one recently that was like, "What the fuck is
Yes,
this?"
yes.
They've gotten so
Roller
bonkers
coasters on them, and
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's really good.
because don't you think that sort of is the like height of what we as man have made? You could be like, "Oh, a skyscraper's cool," but I was like, "No, but this thing moves around."
On the sea.
Yeah.
Also, it is wild. Those ships are crazy because they are truly, in some weird ways, I feel like now more than ever, the reality of needing to be have a safe haven when the end of the world is happening, like maybe it is on a cruise ship, but also is totally unsustainable
Oh.
because you have to bring everything into it. Like
You
there's
need
only so much
much.
food and so much whatever you can put
Yeah.
on one of those things. But the fact that they exist and that they are able to have enough food, enough whatever to house and feed however many thousands of people that are on those.
Thousands of people.
And I think we've talked about this before on this podcast. I definitely want to talk to someone on my other podcast. There's generally a morgue
Yeah.
on those big
Oh, yeah.
cruise ships. Like, I wonder how many people die per voyage.
Like, it almost would have to be at least one person a trip dying on those.
Oh, at least. I mean, just by virtue of the fact that you have contained like 5,000 people.
I think it's more than that. On
More
some
than
of
that.
these.
And also that they're generally speaking an older age group. Yeah.
But anyways, don't you think aliens, that would be like...
I think that's a very, very good thesis.
Okay, now let me give you one more alien thing I've been thinking about.
And also, a lot of this, though, is like, where are the aliens from? Like, what kind of planet are they living on?
Well, yeah.
You know.
Their context, right?
By the way, that is coming. Like, that is going to an alien invasion is going to happen at some point.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not an invasion of like that they're coming to get our resources, although that's probably pretty likely. But also sometimes with our world and even in our own little country, like how things are so split, that's something that I think would unite the world pretty quickly. To have a common enemy.
Yeah, it's fucking Independence Day. Totally.
Is it that movie?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. This isn't like revelatory? What I'm
No.
saying?
There's many a story that has been weaved about this scenario.
I've had this great thought about what could unite us. Okay, go ahead.
I think what's also... I mean, I feel like there's got to be a listener out there that knows a ton about this. Like, the amount of stuff that our government has revealed in the last 3 years during the pandemic, I feel like is crazy. Have you seen that?
Like what?
So much stuff. So much Navy footage has come out in the last 3 years. So much stuff
That our government has like quietly put out.
Yeah, like
this is why this is where I don't buy this. All of the governments of the whole world have, like, and all of the people who have the insider knowledge of this have kept it under wraps for the sake of what?
I think for safety, and I think also it's like it's only been kept under wraps. We've only been in this like modern society for like 100 years.
That's true.
Where now it's like going to be much more impossible. But there's just governments now are being. There's going to be listeners that are going to drop some big knowledge on us. All I know is when the Blink 182 guy was like, "There's aliens," like 10 years ago, and everyone was like, "That guy's fucking crazy." Now people are like, "Yeah, he was right. He wasn't that crazy."
Well, okay. Where to begin? I don't feel like the Blink 182 guy.
He has a whole organization about this.
I know, but like,
do you know?
No, I don't know.
No, you don't know. You don't know.
But also, like, I feel like a lot of people have been talking about aliens for a long time. Is he the only person who?
He doubled down in a way that was like, bro, don't go down this way. Like, don't go out like this, bro. Right? Like, he doubled down and like started a thing and is like funding alien research and all this stuff. And it was just like, okay, that's interesting. But now it's like, oh, you might have been totally right about all this stuff. He's getting his, what is that called when you're getting your flowers? He's getting his flowers.
I've never heard that. I don't know what that is. But Andy, but he's not yet. We don't have, Based on what?
All this stuff is coming out. Do you know what?
Do you know?
Maybe for next week's episode,
Mm-hmm.
I'll make a little list of stuff that's legitimately come out in the last like year or two, and we'll see how you respond to it.
Okay, great.
I'm gonna add
I
a
want
reminder.
legitimately, the word legitimately to
Add
be.
reminder to get legit alien intel that has dropped in the last year to share with Elizabeth on next week's podcast. Okay.
What do you know about string theory?
Nothing.
Okay.
Do you know anything?
No.
Oh my God, for next week, this is another teaser. I'm going to show you a fucking video that's going to blow your mind. That might be about string theory. It's about a box, and if you were to like put something in a box, how it would decay, but then like eventually it would turn back into the thing it was. I'll show you a video and we'll talk about it next
Okay.
time.
How about if I
This is being so
if I
vague.
learn
I'm so sorry to our listeners. This
How
is
about-
like
if I learn everything there is to know about string theory by next week?
you. Okay, let's not be.
Just joking.
How about this?
But I
You
could learn
try
the
to-
basics.
You try to explain what string theory is to
Oh
me
God,
next week.
this is good. Okay.
And I will find some legit alien intel.
I hope everyone who listens is prepared to get very high listening to next week's episode.
I was thinking about getting high maybe up at the cabin this weekend.
I'd love to do that. But we shouldn't do it at the same time is the problem.
I think we can both have a gummy.
Uh,
No. Maybe not.
maybe not. But you follow your bliss and
We'll
I'll
see. I don't even know if I have anything.
We do.
It's probably expired.
That's true. Okay. Well,
I feel like we went off the rails.
I think in a great way,
We
honestly.
just teased too much for next week, but we'll bring the heat, I guess.
Maybe. I don't know. Don't put too much pressure on next
I just
week.
mean the info. You don't think you're going to be able to tell me anything about string theory?
No, I'll be able
Do you
to.
know what it is?
No.
At all?
It's something about the time-space continuum. This should be great.
Okay, that's cool.
All right.
And yeah, and listeners, if you know any crazy alien things, hit us up on the Nobody's Listening Right Instagram. Send some DMs about that.
Yes, please.
Make my job easier.
Great. Okay. Well, thanks so much. Check us out on patreon.com/totallylame and on Instagram at Nobody's Listening Right. Good night.
Good night.